Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with Chicago-based jazz trumpeter, composer, arranger, and educator Emily Kuhn. We talked about quite a few things during our interview. We covered her latest 2021 CD, Sky Stories, her move from Virginia to Chicago, and her life in music. This album is a celebration of Chicago's natural beauty and its diverse musical communities. She is well on her way, and she's got a great story. Enjoy.
Good. Hey, thanks for taking a minute for Neon Jazz today. I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Thank you.
So let's go ahead and get into your latest CD, Sky Stories. And before we get into kind of the artistic, creative realms of this project, I want to know, we're in the middle of a global pandemic, and, as Americans, we always throw something else in there. It's kind of a stressful time on the planet. So talk to me a little bit about, the timing of this and what you think about it coming out during this particular time.
So I got lucky. I had finished basically all of the production except for mastering before the pandemic hit. It didn't change much in the way of my plans for releasing it, other than obviously I would usually do like a tour and a longer release or a bigger release show, But personally, it was really helpful to be able to release it during the pandemic because it was kind of a sense of direction that it gave me. Just like it was cool to be able to get recognition for something I had been working really hard on, even as everything else was kind of falling away. I think from a personal standpoint, it was really helpful to have this come out just as a way of coping.
So essentially it's a saving grace. There's a part of all this where there's so much grief that's going on in the world that I get the feeling from a lot of musicians, jazz musicians that are releasing albums during this time, this is almost kind of a life raft because there's no live music, and this is the only real way that you can connect artistically to your fans.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely.
The album cover's inviting, the music's great, it just has a good feel to it. Talk to me a little bit about what you hope the listener gets from either downloading or physically purchasing this album.
Oh, sure, yeah, thanks. I guess a general thought behind this album and general idea that I wanted to convey through the music was just kind of a sense of love and a sense of place. A lot of the songs have to do with specific places in Chicago. So several of them are at one specific spot on the beach where I used to write a lot of music. And I wrote one of them on the train. They all just kind of have very specific meaning to me. And so I think one thing that I hope people get from listening to it is kind of a sense of comfort and an inspiration to connect with the places in their own lives as well.
Yeah, Chicago is such a wonderful town.
It's so beautiful.
Oh man, it's so cool. It's just it just has a great feel to it. I've done a pilgrimage to Wrigley Field. A couple of years ago, my stepdaughter had a dance competition. There's just so much.
Cool.
It's a great town.
Yeah.
So,
and I only moved here 5 years ago, so I haven't lived here for that long, but I feel like ever since I've lived here, I felt really connected to it. So.
Yeah, without a doubt. So where are you from originally?
I'm from Virginia, from Charlottesville.
Okay, so talk to me a little bit about your childhood and how music and more specifically jazz got interwoven into who you are.
So Charlottesville is, I don't know if you're familiar, it's where UVA is, and it's just a super beautiful place, and I think that's one reason I feel really connected to places that I live is that it's right next to the Blue Ridge Mountains. It's just gorgeous. You can see the mountains from everywhere. I was very lucky to study with a couple of really amazing trumpet players and jazz musicians. So my high school had a really great band program, and which honestly that was, I think, the main thing that got me into playing music. Our teacher would have us just improvise as a part of class every day, even in the wind ensemble. So that was really special. And then I studied with a trumpet player, John Durst, who also is just a completely incredible musician and was as a high schooler, he was so inspiring to study with because he would talk about philosophy and kind of more than just the music. He would really make it feel like a really big part of life and a really big part of who you were to be a musician. So that was kind of how I started listening to jazz and started getting interested in jazz. And then I went to Oberlin and studied jazz studies and environmental studies there.
What was the first live jazz show you ever saw that really blew your doors down?
Whew. I don't know if I even remember. Honestly, probably the first was probably one of the UVA jazz ensembles. They had a really fantastic faculty ensemble, and we used to go to those shows when I was a kid.
Right on. What about music influences? Just listening to albums and whatnot. Who influenced you?
I think early on I listened to a lot of just like the classic trumpet players. Like the first solo I ever transcribed was a Lee Morgan solo on Ciara. And I loved Lee Morgan. I loved listening to Clifford Brown and Freddie Hubbard. And then I think as I went to college, I started to get kind of more into, like, I don't know, some kind of different sounds that kind of blend different genres. So I also grew up listening to a lot of folk music, and I really like musicians who kind of bring folk influences into their music as well.
So talk to me a little bit about coming to a new town, a big town like Chicago, and getting kind of settled in. How did things kind of start up for you, and how have you gotten to where you're at? I mean, obviously we've had a year off, but how did things kind of progress to where they are as far as where you're at professionally now?
Well, I kind of feel like I got really lucky, and I found myself in a bunch of really great communities early on. So, and I think a lot of how I've gotten involved in the jazz scene here has been through friendships and through just kind of meeting the right people who I really click with and forming bands. So early on, one band that I am in, that was one of the first bands that I joined, I think, when I was here, is a group called Son Monarcas, which is actually not a jazz group. It's like more Mexican folkloric music and some cumbia as well. And that project really introduced me to a lot of the people who I still play with today. And I'm still active in that project as well. And yeah, I think just every year it's felt like I've kind of met more people who I really connect with musically and who I can kind of trust to bring into my projects and to play on their projects. Yeah, so it's been very organic for me, I think.
So, Chicago is a town that's steeped in a lot of jazz lore. So my question is, if you could go to a dream show, anybody, anywhere, anytime, maybe Chicago, who would you want to see, and who would you want to talk to after the show?
I mean, this isn't a Chicago musician, but I think one person that I really would love to, I have seen her live before, but I think I would really love at this point in my career to see live and talk to, would be Ingrid Jensen. I love her approach to trumpet, and I think right now, I think her sound, I just really am entranced by, and I would love to get to talk to her more about it.
What do you like the best about being a musician?
I think I like the people. I think I like connecting with people, especially the people I'm playing with, but also people who listen. It's just, there's something so special that I think I've really been missing this year too. There's a kind of a different way of connecting with people when you play with them.
So what are you looking forward to the most from that old world, say back in March, returning to? What are you looking forward to getting back to?
That's a hard question. I mean, other than like the obvious hugging all of my friends and like having indoor dinner parties and hangs and sessions and just seeing people inside, I think kind of what was just saying, like getting to really play music people and like have relaxed rehearsals where you're able to really create something together, and like going to sessions and really being able to like relax into it and get to know people musically and personally. I think I really miss that.
What do you hope we all realize, both musician and the audience, when we get back? There like this big long absence of live music. What do you hope we realize about music when we come back?
Yeah. I mean, I hope people value it. I hope that people like kind of realize how crazy it's been, that there's kind of this void, and that people really value artists and value the ability to be able to go out and see a show.
So finally, everyone has a perception of you, your family, your friends, your fans, but you're living your life. Who do you think you are?
Who do I think I am? Oh, wow. Let's see. I think as a musician, I just kind of try to be very authentic, and I'm unafraid to be a little bit corny and a little bit simple. Not corny in a bad way, but like I think I really value like simplicity and being able to reach people in a very authentic way. Yeah, I hope that people kind of take that away and hear like a sense of connection and a sense of just reaching out in my music.
Beautiful. Emily, thank you for taking a minute out for Neon Jazz. Good luck with the album and the return to the stage.
Thank you. Thanks so much for talking. This is great.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in Chicago, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Emily for her time, music, and story. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino in the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.